Hi and welcome again to a new review. In this video I'd like to talk about the Minichamps Scale 118 diecast model of the Red Bull RB7 driven by then Toro Rosso driver Max Verstappen at the skiing venue in Kitzbühel, Austria. This was part of a promotion campaign for the 2016 Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring later that year and another chapter in the book of the Red Bull Racing live demo team. They had already brought Formula 1 cars to some extreme events and even had a snow run before in 2010 with Sébastien Buemi in Canada. This would be the first time though a Formula 1 car would run with chains on its tires in the snowy mountains. Max Verstappen was drafted by Red Bull to do the driving to get the maximum publicity out of it. Minichamps pretty much immediately announced they would release a model of the event. As usual, the Verstappen webshop released the same model a few weeks before Minichamps did, but in a special packaging and in more limited numbers. This release is edition 7 from the official fan shop. The model comes in a flip-top box, and Minichamps have been using this packaging before on some Schumacher, Vettel and Senna specials. The box art is quite nice, with the Red Bull Racing and the Max Verstappen logos on it. On the box itself there's also a picture of the car running in the snow, but if you look up close you'll see that it's actually not a real car in the picture, but the model car with somehow spinning wheels. I don't know why they just didn't use a real picture of the real car, but it is what it is. When opening the box, one of the first things you'll notice of course are the chains on the tires, and they are real metal chains, which is very nice. I was afraid Minichamps would make them out of plastic, but they are actually metal. The car itself looks pretty nice with the different livery, especially the side pods with the ice texture on it looks really good. The inside of the top, let's say, of the box shows the same picture that is on top of the box, and there's a bit of information of the about the event as well. Looks good so far. The model itself then is basically the standard RB7 that Minichamps released back in 2012. It's not near as detailed as their more recent releases, but the basic model with just a few little extras. The main feature of course are the wheels and the chains. I'm happy they used the real rain-tight tread as well, and it's pretty nice to see those blue Pirelli sidewalls. This was the first time this compound was used on a model. As I mentioned before, the chains look pretty good and down to scale. The one-off livery looks pretty good as well, as does the helmet of the driver figurine. The cockpit is not very detailed, but still okay looking. But now I'll have to talk about the least favorite things about this model, and the first thing is the level of finishing. I know it's based on the standard Minichamps RB7 release, but they didn't even keep the same level of detail. For instance, if you look at the Red Bull Racing logo on the nose, here is the original RB7 model. You see the logo on the newer release looks as if it's an 8-bit version of the former, and basically incredibly shoddy work. There is also a noticeable difference in the yellow color, but I'll put it down to the fact that it's a slightly different livery, and Red Bull could be using a darker shade of yellow now. Also, all the added GoPro cameras are missing, which I think is a bit of a missed opportunity. It would have looked really cool with that little addition. And I understand the level of detail is not as high as let's say a resin model or as in newer releases, but they even went backwards compared to a few years before. Another thing is the shape of the front wing pillars. Somewhere mid-2011 Red Bull changed the pillars from a swooping shape to a more straight version, as you can see here. And the standard Minichamps release of the RB7 had those swooping pillars, as it was based on the Chinese Grand Prix of that season, which was at the beginning of the year. The later release of the race-specific Japanese Grand Prix, for instance, at the season's end had those straight pillars. Now, the real snowrun car had those swooping pillars, so why the hell did Minichamps use the later version of the car with the straight ones? They have the molds for both versions, so why not use the correct one? I guess it must be hard to do some research. And then there's the price. The webshop edition was a whopping €250. All 500 pieces had sold out within hours, and I bought one too, obviously, but I'll admit that was pretty outrageous. It's only because I'm a sucker for wanting to have a complete Max Verstappen 118 fan shop collection at the time. Well, even the standard version of the Snow Run is still around €150, and I understand they are milking the Verstappen cash cow, but this is just ridiculous given the fact that the normal RB7 from 2011 was just around €85, and that one is even more detailed and at least somewhat correct. I don't mind paying that amount of money for a model as long as it's nicely detailed and they have put a lot of attention and research into it. Now I get a recycled incorrect model with less detail than a cheap standard version with only one added extra and a fancy box that doesn't even have a real picture of the real car on it. So yeah. So this was my harsh review of the Minichamps Verstappen Snow Run 118 model. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to the channel to watch more of these kind of reviews. I hope you enjoyed this one, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon in the next one.